All right, guys, here we go. Thank you so much. Welcome to the podcast. Appreciate you guys clicking to view this. This is yours truly, J to the B to the IRD. And right now, we are going to get into a question from young, aspiring musicians who are just starting out. And they ask me, is college still relevant for aspiring musicians like us? Is it relevant to go to college even if I can learn as much as I can learn going to youtube.com with all these videos and seeking out instruction? But today I'm going to cover the yes part because I think it's super wise if you are able to do it to go ahead and get that college experience, to go ahead and get that university music conservatory experience that a lot of people, just don't have the privilege to do. If you think about an athlete, for instance, a basketball player, it's much better for a basketball player to have an experience in playing college basketball before going to the pros. They've got all the basics, they've got all the fundamentals, they know what it's like to play under pressure. So, I think the music education is very important. I think being able to learn theory is very important as well, not just for the purpose of talking theory or communicating with people who don't understand you, but being able to have an understanding of it in terms of what composers did in the past and how you can take some of those elements and make them your own and take them to the next level. So I think that's very wise. You don't have to use a bunch of music jargon with the general audience. I would say that for someone who is aspiring to be a musician and he or she might be in junior high or in high school, and for instance, I fell in love with the piano at a very young age, but I didn't get any formal training until years later, maybe just a few years prior to graduating high school and getting into a college where I could gain more of an experience as somebody who had a concentration on my instrument, which in my case was the piano. Now, the typical story would be that a child would start very young, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, just really young. By the time they get started on any instrument, if they remotely sound like they've been playing for years, then 9 times out of 10, the teacher and the parents are going to consider them child prodigies. Those are your super gifted children that can pick up things really fast. And most of the time, children, if they start off very young, they can pick up things very fast. I've seen kids 2 or 3 years old learning how to snowboard and do it very well. So the same goes with music and anything else. For me, I was kind of a late bloomer. I didn't really start getting serious with learning anything having to do with music until I was in high school. All right. So if you are learning as a really young toddler and you're getting all this training, your gift is exponentially high because of what you have naturally and what you've been able to build technically. Fortunately, anyone who starts out really young has an advantage because they're able to get into the best schools. They're able to easily receive scholarships. They already have a resume by the time they're in high school. But if you're somebody like me who didn't get serious until high school, seek out any kind of information. One of the things that I did, fortunately for me, I had in my house a master theory book. There's 6 of them. Volume 1, somehow my dad had it and he gave it to me, and I was able to read that thing from start to finish. And I soaked up a lot of the basic theory. This 30-page workbook had pretty much 1/3 of everything I needed to know as far as general music theory. And what I ended up doing, having grown up in the Bay Area, I went to a music store in Berkeley and I picked up the next 2 volumes to learn more about the general theory. With that said, another thing that my dad had, he brought to the house one time a really big stack of pictured chords on the piano. And that was the first time that I ever looked at all of the many different chords in its root form and its inverted forms as well. So I'm talking about all of the major and minor chords and all of the diminished and augmented, and then everything that had to do with any and every kind of chord was in this big stack of chords printed on paper. And my dad brought that, and ever since then, anytime that I wanted to play a chord or didn't know what a chord was, I would reference that big stack of printed chords. It's very hard to understand or learn jazz or any other form of traditional music, especially if it has anything to do with scales and chords, which is what music essentially consists of. I had a huge advantage. By the time I did get into college, I didn't have to take any general music theory classes because I've already had an understanding of what theory was based on those workbooks. So they didn't put me into a general theory class. I went straight into Theory 101 and so on and so forth. Soon after, I joined a jazz band class in high school, which gave me a nice experience in terms of knowing what it was like to be amongst other students in one band. And I got to experience being in a band setting. And then not only did I have that, because that was a high school class, I was also in an after-school program. It was basically a workshop, a music workshop that emphasized jazz music for young students. Age range was about 11 to 17 years old, with some exceptions. And that experience for me was very progressive because now I got to be in small band settings where it would be a three-piece rhythm section and a few lead players, either on trumpet, saxophone, trombone, any kind of lead horn, that were involved in playing the melody of the composition and solos. Also included the first time that I ever played or performed a paid performance. I remember my mentor, who was the founding director of the program, told me, don't get used to this. But I got used to it years later when I would play one or two performances or gigs every week or every other week, just to have a little pocket change on the side. Because if you're a college student, usually you're broke. So that was very fortunate for me. When I did go to school, I was able to do performances outside of the program. So being able to perform in many different band settings, being able to perform many different kinds of music, even outside of jazz, like show pop, when I went from one high school to the next, I got to experience playing in symphonic band and marching band and show pop band, and even being part of the rhythm section for a vocal jazz group. All of that musical variety helped me to become able to study music in college. So if I were you, I would definitely consider that option, because not only are you getting the educational part, but you're also making connections. You're making connections with the professors who have connections outside of the program. You're connecting with other students. You never know who's going to have an outstanding career. You never know who is going to become super successful. And being associated with and or friends with these individuals who just so happen to have been your classmates is highly beneficial. And most of the time, if everyone has similar journeys, primarily in music, everybody's going to most likely have each other's back because of the connection and bond that you guys had studying together in the same programs. Okay, well, that's all I have for today. I want to thank everybody for viewing this. If you like what you saw, please don't forget to like and subscribe to This Is Jaybird. That's my YouTube channel. Really appreciate everyone tuning in. We will definitely have a part 2 of this pretty soon. So let me know your thoughts, or if you have any feedback in the comments below. It will be really awesome to discuss things further. If you yourself are a musician or an artist of any kind, let us know, especially in the beginning up until the time that maybe you went to college. Did you have a beneficial experience, or could you have gone through your journey without it? So until next time, take care, everybody, and we'll see you again soon.